fire topic about being a federal concierge, something that I guarantee you want to know about how to get a quote, about the process. I'm going to talk to you about how to get a quote fast from the subcontractor. This is a big topic that most people are interested in learning, don't know how. This is the part everybody always gets flustered, frustrated, not sure how to go about doing it. Don't know what to say, wondering why they're not getting quotes. This is the part everybody is always asking about, and I am going to tell you and give you the details on how to get that quote fast from the subcontractor. So stay tuned, hit the like button, subscribe, do all that good stuff, because baby, we about to get into it. Okay, so how to get a one of the biggest things that people gripe, my students gripe, people out here online gripe about when it comes to being a federal concierge, aka government contractor, y'all know I call myself a federal concierge, is getting a quote. People are so frustrated that they call subcontractors, they either get ignored, some people get told off. I've been told off before. Get ignored, told off, not responded to. They feel like they're begging for quotes. And guess what, y'all? Y'all shouldn't have to go through that. Y'all really shouldn't. I'm going to break down the reasons why your subcontractor that you're reaching out to get a quote is responding in the way they are, and then what you can do to help you get a quote faster, okay? So here we go. How to get a quote from a subcontractor fast. First and foremost, y'all got to remember, subcontractors and these people that you are calling, guess what? They're actual businesses. Yeah, they actually have businesses and other clients. So first and foremost, you got to think about the solicitation that you're bidding on. How many people are working that solicitation? Let's keep it real. You are not the only person working on that solicitation, and you're not the only person reaching out to that same exact subcontractor to get a quote. So not only is the subcontractor a business with other clients, jobs they're doing, a business they're running, now you got 3, 4, 5, 8, 9, 20, 30, 40 people calling them for the same job. So if you get a subcontractor, you call them and they're rude or dismissive or seem like they're not interested, it's not necessarily because they don't want to give you a quote. It's because they've already talked to people about this same doggone quote. Let me ask you a question. How do you respond to telemarketers when they call you? Right? Same thing. Same thing when it comes to a subcontractor. Now you might be saying, well, they're a business. They're going to get quotes. They're going to get asked for quotes. People call them for quotes all the time. Yes, you are correct. But it don't be for the same exact thing. Okay? So you guys got to keep that in mind. So kind of go into calling subcontractors with like understanding that they may have already gotten this call. They may be tired of talking. Just kind of go into that with understanding. When you do that, it makes the conversation a little bit easier to have. Okay? Second thing, remember, when you're working on a solicitation and you're getting the documents, the government is asking you how much you're charging to do the work, and they're providing you a scope of work. I'm going to be honest, and I'm going to say this, y'all. Y'all might not like me when I say this. I'm sorry, but a lot of you guys out there, when you're going through the documents, the scope of work, and you're trying to get a quote from a sub, y'all just lazy. I'm sorry. You're just lazy. You're being lazy. Why are you being lazy? It's because you're sending the entire scope of work, the 10 plus pages the government has sent you for you to go through, to the subcontractor. Now, hold on. Now, y'all might be like, well, Trinell, I don't know what I'm doing. Don't they need to know exactly what needs to be done? So why wouldn't I send them all 10 documents of the scope of work? Well, guess what, y'all? I'm going to give you a little secret in case you don't know this. The scope of work has things that needs to be done for the actual work, and it has things that don't need to be done for the actual work. Meaning, like you gotta make sure you have your license to get on base, or you gotta go through this gate for security or stuff like that. That does not affect the quote. So you should not be sending that to the subcontractor, okay? Y'all have to stop being lazy when it comes to the scope of work and actually read it. So that's the problem. Y'all don't, I'm sorry, forgive me. I don't want to scold you, because if I'm talking directly to you, listen, I'm not trying to be hard on you. I'm just trying to give you what you need so you can get your quote faster. You have to read. You know, I heard somebody tell me, one of my students, like, I don't like reading. And I'm like, then you in the wrong field. You have to read the scope of work, because one, you need to know what needs to be done. Because, not saying that subcontractors be trying to, rip you off or anything, but if you don't know what needs to be done and they start throwing extra stuff in there, you're going to be giving pricing for stuff that the government's not even asking for. So make sure you understand the scope of work, okay? So you have to read it. Now, when you read it, the easiest thing for you to do is break the scope of work down. Because remember, you're going to send this scope of work to the subcontractor. That's what you're going to do. You're not going to send them the 10 pages. You're going to send the scope of work, a scope of work, to the subcontractors. Now, what you have to do is you have to take the scope of work the government has given you on sam.gov, and you have to break that bad boy down. Break it down. Instead of breaking me on down, you got to break it down. You cannot give them the entire document, okay? So you're going to be asking, well, I don't know what to tell them. I got you, baby. Now, remember in grammar school, we was always, well, when I went to school, they don't teach you grammar nowadays. Sad. But when I was in grammar school, we learned the 5 questions that you should ask. Or, I don't even know what it's called, but we learned 5 questions that's always asked, right? Who, what, when, where, and how, right? Who, what, when, where, how. Now, in this case, it's more like a who, well, it's more like a where, what, when, how, and how. Okay? So that is what you need to send to the subcontractor. So you're going to look at the scope of work the government has sent you, and you're going to break it down into those 5 sections. Where, who, what, where, how, what, and when. That's what you're going to break it down. Now, when you are sending a sub a scope of work, you want to send them something that is easy to read, because once again, you already got 20 people calling for the same information. You don't want to send that to them, because then they're not going to pay attention. They're not going to remember you. They're probably tired of answering the phone because the phone is ringing off the hook. You want to be able to send them something where they can look at it at a glance and be like, oh yeah, we do that. That's going to cost this much. And using those 5 questions is going to get you there. That's going to get your quote faster. Now, not only do you do that, and that's what you're sending them, another thing you have to do with the subcontractor is you have to connect with them. Remember, like I said, 20-something people is calling them, asking them for the same quote. What make you think they're going to remember you? So you have to build some type of connection. There are a lot of coaches out there, a lot of people saying, call it, get in, get out, get off the phone, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that's cool. That happens, whatever. That's not the way to get a quote. Yeah, you'll get a quote. You could get a quote. But what make you think if it's between you and 4 other people and they don't want to give the quote to everybody, how are you going to get the quote if you just call in and say, hey, I need a quote. Okay, thank you, bye. And you're not being memorable. You have to connect with the subcontractor, okay? That's another reason, and that's another way to get a sub. And not only are you connecting with the subcontractor, you're building a relationship. So if you guys do win the contract and you fulfill it and something else come up, guess what? Now you got a contact to call and be like, hey, Jim, it's Trinell. I need a quote for this. And guess what? They're going to get back to you super duper fast because they've already worked with you. They know you're going to pay them, and you good to go. So getting the quote fast from the subcontractor has nothing to do with the subcontractor itself. It has to do everything with what you are providing the subcontractor. So let's recap. first and foremost, you have to have, when calling a subcontractor, you have to have an understanding that these people are actual business. They're not just sitting around waiting for you to call them and ask them for this particular quote. They have so many other people, so many other jobs they're doing. They're busy because they're a business. So you have to go in understanding, hey, I understand you busy, so let me get to the point. All right. Also, you have to build a relationship with them. Once again, you got hundreds of people calling them, asking them for quotes. You have to be memorable so that they can want to work with you. Okay. Number 3, the most important thing, do not send them the whole entire scope of work. Please don't do that. Do not send them what the government is giving you on SAM.gov. You need to actually read that scope of work. Take those 5 questions, which are when, where, how, and what. Those are the questions that you need to be asking. You need to break down the scope of work into those questions. So let's go through the questions. Where? Where's the job located? Who do you know going to quote a job if you're not telling them where it is? First of all, do they even work in that area? Do they even want to go to that area? Like, they need to know that. So you have to put that in there. What? This is where you get specific, okay? What needs to be done? There are 2 different type of whats. There's what general and what specific. What needs to be done so that they can see whether they do it or not. So you get real general, dry cleaning, right? And then what needs to be done. Well, that is what needs to be done. I'm sorry. Then what is it? So where, location, what needs to be done, how does it need to be done? This is where you get specific. Oh, we need the whites to be washed in this percentage. We need the whatever. This is where you get specific, okay? When does it need to be done? Does it need to be done every month, every day, every week? We need to know when it needs to be done, okay? No one's going to quote if you don't have these questions in hand and sending it to them. They're going to be asking you a lot of questions, which is not a bad thing. You want them to come back to you and ask you for questions, so that's good. But come on, they got to have the basics, right? You want the quote back fast. Make sure you give them what they need so that they can get you that quote back fast, okay? It's real simple. I get quotes back same day. Sometimes I get quotes right over the phone. It really just depends on what job needs to be done and how well I have broken down the scope of work. I've had subcontractors that have talked to me before and say, yeah, somebody sent me a 20-page document. Y'all, let's be real. A subcontractor is not going to read a 5, 6, 7-page document that the government has posted on SAM.gov. They just don't have time for that. Now, you should keep your scope of work minimum 1 page of words. When I say 1 page of words, I mean the where, what, how, when of it. Okay? Those need to be kept down to 1 page. Once again, you want the sub to look at it, glance at it, and be like, oh yeah, that's going to cost $800,000. And bam, you good to go. Right? You want that if you want to get that quote back fast. So that's what you need to keep to a minimum, 1 page. Now, if there are maps attached, photos, like map, whatever extra that's not like necessarily the scope of work, you can attach as many of those as you want. If they got 7 pages of pictures, attach 7 pages of pictures, that's okay. But when it comes to reading and the actual words, 1 page. Now, that is the minimum, and this is my opinion. This is nobody's opinion. This is not set in stone. This is exactly my opinion. Okay, it's worked for me. It's worked for my students. It's gonna work for you too. But it should. If you don't believe me, test it out. Send them 10 pages and see if they get back to you. Okay. Now, excuse me. What you need to do. Send them 1 page with all the attachments of the photos, videos, maps, if there is any, okay? Send them that document, right? After you've talked to them, you built the rapport, you understand where they're coming from, if they go off on you or whatever. Send them that. Then another thing most people don't do, they don't follow up. You send the subcontractor your quote, and then you're like expecting them to call you back. Now, don't get me wrong, they will call. Some people will call you back. Okay? But I don't know about you. I don't wait for people to do what they're supposed to do. I'm just that type of person. I do not wait for you to do what you're supposed to do. I will give you up until the time you say you're going to do it. But then if you don't, I'm just going to go redo it. You guys don't follow up. That's another reason why people don't get a quote fast. You don't follow up. Okay? If you can't get the quote over the phone and you got to send them an email, y'all have to follow up. The next day, I say every other day, follow up with them. Because remember, once again, they are a business. You are a quote that they're trying to fulfill, but then they have 12 other people calling for the same quote. Or they got other people calling for just quotes for like their regular business. You have to follow up. Another reason why I said remain memorable is because if you are memorable, you connect with them on a certain way. Most of the times you don't have to follow up. Why? Because they're going to contact you because you've connected with them. Aww. Connection is important, y'all. Connection is very important, okay? So that is how you get the subcontractor to get you a quote fast. Give them exactly what they need in the scope of work, y'all. Give them what they need in the scope of work. The when, the where, the how, and the what. Okay, those are the 5 questions that you need to be asking. The reason why I say how twice is because there's how they do the job, like how they go about doing the job, the specifics. And then sometimes if it's a product, you might need to know how many or how long. So that's why I said how twice, because y'all probably like, why she saying how twice? That's not who, what, when, where, why. How is twice because it's either product or service, which means how many items you need, how many products you need, or how long do you need the service, once a month, every 2 weeks, stuff like that. So that's why how is twice. So you need to ask those specific questions to the subcontractor, okay? Send that to them. Do not send them the entire scope of work the government sends you. Break down the scope of work into those 5 questions. Attach any additional pictures or maps to the document. Send that to the subcontractor, okay? When you make a phone call to the subcontractor, you're going to ask to speak to the person in charge of quotes. We don't want to speak to secretaries. We don't want to speak to anybody that can't assist us, because guess what? They're going to relay your message to the person, and your message is going to get lost in translation. Y'all ever play that game telephone, and at the end, like, you're like, what? Like, how'd you even get that? That don't make no sense. Speak to the direct person, okay? Send them the scope of work. Let them read it, okay? Follow up. Follow the hell up. Follow up with these people. Don't allow them to say, okay, I'm going to call you back. If you say, I'm going to call you back, okay, fine. You're going to call me back in 10 minutes. That's cool. But after 10 minutes, call them back. Remember, you don't know these people. You don't know these people. So call them back, okay? Don't wait for them to do what they're supposed to do. This is how you get the quote fast, all right? So hope that helps. Hope you guys put that to use. Hopefully that will help somebody get a quote faster. And if it do, put it in the comments. Let me know if it worked. If it didn't work, you ain't do something right. Let me know so I can help you. If you guys are interested in booking a call, go ahead and click the link below. We can book a call. We'll talk about how you get started as a federal concierge so that you can be getting those quotes super duper fast and submitting super duper fast, because look, that's the name of the game. Submit, forget, follow up. That's my motto, okay? All right, guys, thank you for joining me. Hope you are liking my content. Subscribe, follow. Well, that's follow, isn't it? Subscribe, like, and comment on this video to help me get monetized. I want to get on YouTube a little bit more. And if you guys got questions, put them in the comments. I am here to answer your questions about federal concierge, aka government contracting, okay? And just for those of you who are joining me, if you don't know what a federal concierge is, if you don't know, it's a person who provides goods and services to the federal government, also known as a federal contractor. I just call myself a federal concierge because, you know, It just sounds better. It's sexy. I like it. All right, guys. I will talk to you later. Thank you for joining me. I will see you tomorrow. Make sure to like, subscribe, and comment, and get those quotes fast. I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.